Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Tarot with an Attitude, the Karmic Path. And I keep pointing the wrong way whenever I'm pointing at you.
Well, I'm on the other side right now.
I know. Here we go. Watch this, everybody. Wow, I'm
Ooh,
mystical, So the Karmic Path, and together we are
crossing
something
the realm.
doing with realms, crossing realms together.
We're going to be
Why
talking
am I
about
hanging
realms.
up on that?
You know what? We're talking about realms today too.
We are. We actually are. This is going to be fun. This is going to be cool. And there's going to be a lot of, when we talk about wormholes and things like that, I want to get into the science of it because we got to understand with wormholes, there's no actual real proof they exist. It's just theoretical science. There's no proof any of this exists.
And the proof is when we look at proof, or we look at is this a true factual thing? We have to understand we're limited by the human mind construct, right?
Correct.
And so, a couple hundred years ago, nobody believed that viruses or bacteria were real until the microscope was invented. So until the technology got good enough, like, you don't need to wash your hands, it's been 3 weeks, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And so, and there's all kinds of theories out there and stuff. And I think it's just going to be fun to explore and talk about. And we chose this topic because I just got back from Sedona.
Right. Dying to go. Gillian and I are dying to go.
It is so busy. It's so packed. It's crazy. Yeah. But, we could even do something around there too. So
yeah,
it was interesting because I was, walking around and there's portals and all these vortices, or whatever you want to call them. It's the proper math teacher me coming out. These vortices come, and I was with a friend of mine, and we were in this one location, and she started getting really dizzy, and she's like, "Are you dizzy?" And I'm like, "No." So she felt something that I did not.
Okay.
So she walked through this thing, and it could have been that it was just in her space walking forward, and I was out of that space too. That could have been a possibility. The other element is we all have different degrees of sensitivities.
That's where I was going right there. Just like certain people are subject to certain things, like even if you just take a look at the military, not everybody can be a pilot. Not everybody can, and it's not just because of it's different things that affect our balance, our sense. What is it when people start to lose balance? I forget. My brain is vertigo. Different things like that. And it very well can be that, certain people are more susceptible, because we're going to talk about all of these things are generally more energy and frequency based. So if you're susceptible to lower frequencies or very high frequencies, okay,
yeah,
you may feel it and I may not.
And when I go out in public, and I think it's just because of the work I do, I bring in my auric field tight, okay, because I don't want everybody's juju coming around me. So I bring it in tight, and I also really shield myself, right? Because in many ways, I'm kind of a high value target, and I'm not saying that to brag or make light of that situation, but that's just the truth. And so I choose not to sense things. There was a period of time where I could feel every earthquake along the Pacific Rim, and it drove me nuts.
Right.
And I had to learn how to just say no more, kind of thing. So that's a part of it too. But Sedona's full of these vortices. It's full of portals. It's also full of a lot of people who don't know what the heck they're doing.
Yeah, okay. They're nothing to play with. They're nothing to guess with.
And they're littering the ethers on the process of thinking they know stuff.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful. One of the topics we're talking about are portals. And I might, not win the popularity contest with this concept.
Mm-hmm.
The light side does not require that a mere mortal human open up a portal so they can come in.
Correct.
Guess who does need that?
Exactly. That's why they're nothing to play with.
No.
And bottom line is my feeling is exactly, okay, we've learned through many spiritual journeys, many things, we can open and close portals on our own as human beings and as our, our spirits can do, like in lucid dreaming, all of that kind of stuff. All right.
Yeah.
So to hunt them down, it's not a bad thing, but you need to remember when you're hunting down a portal, a vortex, or whatnot, and a wormhole is a completely different thing than a Stargate. And a Stargate is a completely different thing.
Yeah.
But on those two things, you just can't go, oh, I think I found a portal. Okay. That's where really working pendulums comes in. That's where being protective and knowing and talking to spirit and angels and guides and God and whatnot to make sure you're being protected. Because if one spirit can pass through, all spirits can pass through.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah.
Yep.
And also, I don't want to be karmically responsible for all the riffraff coming through, adding to our problems.
Right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And, this is one of the things, so while we're on portals, okay, let's talk about portals and what they actually are. And in the scientific world, nothing about a portal has ever been proven. Nothing they have found creates a portal. Okay. However, in the spiritual realm, there's a lot of documentation of people saying in the spiritual realm, they have seen portals, been through portals, done this. But again, it's kind of like saying, I saw Bigfoot. There's no way to prove it, So it's just taking everybody's word on it.
And I think what we have to look for is we have to look for commonalities.
Right.
Okay. So I have dealt with a lot of portals. I mean, that's what I do. A portal is a doorway. Okay.
Right.
Nothing more than a fancy doorway that doesn't actually have a doorbell or a ring bell. But at the same time, I use portals. I know I just saw that another Bigfoot.
Yeah, I love you, Tootie. You noticed the new shirt? Yes, it's another Bigfoot shirt.
I was going to mention it earlier, but we were just talking. It's like, oh, it's 5:30.
Yeah.
So portals are they're doorways, and I will, when I go through different realms to do this work, it's kind of like a portal. At the end of every session, I close this up. You never leave a doorway open. Period. And I remember there was a time I was in Bend, Oregon, at the Best Western, which was the fancy hotel over there.
Right.
And I'm walking through, and I'm with 3 other people, and all 4 of us felt the portal. We walked right through it, and we all had the same experience. It was the craziest thing. We walked through it, and you felt like dizzy, you felt discombobulated, and like 5 feet later, you were fine.
Yeah.
All of us had that same exact experience. And I think this is one way we can quantify things, is by looking at people's experiences and not subjugating ourselves to our ego saying, oh, me too, but taking that detached emotion with it. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yep. David, I'm going to say right now, I'm going to talk to you because I want you on the show, even if I got to pre-record it, playing the singing bowls. And what a perfect time, because we're talking about frequencies and things like that and energies and portals. So yeah, you're coming on, buddy. So you better get practiced up with your singing bowls.
Love it. Love it.
I cannot singing bowls. I love them. Okay. Have had them. But the only way I can make them sing is to bang it. Okay. It's like get a bigger hammer.
You know what? It's a running start. That's all it is.
Yeah. And then, but to keep it like, I have a hard time.
I can do that, but I got to whack it first. But I'm good at whacking things. So, it works out well for me.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. When you're in front of a portal, okay, the things coming out of it, is it like whack-a-mole to you? What was that? What was that?
Okay. Yeah. So it can be. And so in my world of dealing with the dirty underbelly of spirituality every day, 7 days a week, right? I mean, that's what I do. I have a very methodical systems that I use depending on what it is, because if I see or sense a portal, I am always shields up, right? And
Right.
you can think of it as I'm not going to let anything in through my auric field, period, because
Right.
that's when we get harmed. So with the portals, I'll deal with all kinds of entities. And it's usually the dark stuff. I do work with the light side because they help me with the dark side.
Right.
But we've got Hatman and we've got who's who in the spiritual zoo down there. Right.
Exactly. And
And
people need to realize that if your angels are coming back and forth without the use of a portal, if your spirit guides, things that are given to you by God, by the Mother, by the Holy Spirit, by divine energy, anything of the light, what is a portal used for? And that is right along what you're talking about. So why does a portal exist?
Yeah, it's a way to go between the lower astral planes. All right. So a ghost is not existing in the third dimension that we're in. A ghost is residing in the fourth dimension, the lower astral. So when we can see or sense a ghost, there's essentially a form of a portal that's there that allows us to have that experience, that frequency experience. So
Right.
we just have to be careful. Bring your angels and have your angels do the heavy lifting for you. Okay. That's a big deal. Portals I've had my fair share of them. I remember watching actually the Devic Kingdom, the fairies and the sprites coming out of a portal at one point, which wasn't as bad. Those are second dimensional creatures, the Sasquatch, Bigfoot kind of thing. So there's all kinds of aspects to portals, but we got to be careful because everything comes down to frequency.
Right.
And vibration. Exactly. Absolutely. So should we look at Cynthia's comment here?
Absolutely. Cynthia, on this one, I don't have mirrors opposing each other. I never have, never will. Again, a lot of it is when they were placed, what intention were they placed with? Okay. But after a while, to me, I've never had a great experience with opposing mirrors. Okay. I don't really recall anything, wonderful reaching out to me, through that. I just out of habit times, I will make sure my wife and I have in our master bath, long bank of the mirrors that you can open the doors. And so you can open it and look at your back or whatnot from the other side, the crazy stuff, not to get too personal, but we make sure every time that if we use them for that, they're closed. We never, and the intention is never there to go, ooh, let's see what happens. Okay.
So,
and that's different than scrying. We'll talk about scrying later, but
I want to kind of change the subject a bit and talk about mirrors for a moment, because I want to show people how to shift the energy of a mirror.
Okay.
Very easy. So this is not original with me. This is from Dr. Robert Gilbert. I studied underneath him in Asheville, North Carolina, biogeometry. And the philosophy is there's angels in the angles. So go back to the Chinese Bagua philosophy of the 8-sided mirrors. So most mirrors are 90 degrees, right? Most. They can be circle. It can be all kinds of fancy stuff now, but most of them are. So if you have a mirror that you question if stuff is coming through it, and it has angles in it, what you're going to do is you're going to change your 4-sided mirror into an 8-sided mirror using a Sharpie. Now, if it's in a public place in your house and you want to appear normal to your neighbors, use a gray or silver Sharpie. Okay.
Right.
If it's in another place and you don't, or you can use a black Sharpie. Windex takes it off, by the way, so it's never permanent. So this is my mirror here. Okay, I might have to. Okay, back it up. This is my mirror here, and I'm just going to take this and turn it into a tiny triangle. I'm going to do it to all 4 corners. Now I have 8 sides. And what it's going to happen is that it changes the energies and the frequencies of the angles to not allow the dark ones to come through. We also talked about in the past writing love and hope and health and wealth on the back sides of mirrors. If you can, if they're mounted, you can't do that. But
Correct.
this little trick works really, really well.
And one of the things I see this on TikTok and everything all the time. Oh my God, I'm so tired of it. Having had owned an ophthalmic business with a guy that was a very good friend of mine, that we were able to go into any ophthalmic office and work and repair with FDA stamps, okay, of approval, on everything they measure your eyes with. Anything you see in that office, we could clean. What you have to understand when somebody says, put your finger up against this mirror, and if you can see your whole finger, somebody's staring at you. No. Okay. There's qualities of mirror. Okay. When you go into an ophthalmic office, your eye doctor, optometry, most of the mirrors that you are looking through or at, if you walk up to that mirror and touch it, you will not see your finger, the tip of your finger. It will like merge into one finger. And it has to be that way for pure measurement in distance for your eyes. So if you walk into the bathroom and you've been watching TikTok and you're like, oh shit, cover the mirrors and everything else. Lighten up, folks. Okay. That's not it. And chances are that cheap glass, the glass I worry about, is the glass that I can touch. Okay. Having been behind see-through mirrors and things before in previous, jobs and stuff. But yeah, don't freak out over a mirror. Okay. Don't. Okay.
No, if you feel like it's funny, want to just try that treatment.
Yep.
And you know what? If you still feel like it's bothering you and it's not quite right, trust your intuition. Just get rid of it.
Yeah, exactly. What I would worry about more than any, and here's the thing, if you're worried about somebody spying on you, okay, get rid of your cell phone, get rid of your laptop, get rid of your tablet. It's already done, and we know that a lot of people are, now the laptops are even coming with a slide for the camera because it's become such a big thing to block it out.
They hear us too, by the way. We're getting totally off topic, but they hear us. And I had I've never heard of this concept before, but these laundry sheets, they're sheets of soap. They're about like 6 or whatever. I'd never heard of them before. And one of my friends was like, oh yeah, I have, this is what I use. I like them. The next thing I know, it's a sticky ad on Facebook. I've never heard of it. So yeah, we're being spied on.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. We have Amazon Alexa. Okay. In the house. I know. But I'm like, if they want to listen, if you're not turning off your cell phone, they're listening anyways.
Yep.
So, let's everybody just get a little bit real here. It's very convenient for me to get up and go, Alexa, turn off this light, that light. Yeah, because I've gotten that point. But Gillian and I experienced this firsthand in a couple of different instances. And where we were talking about something came up in a magazine. We were not even online. And Gillian showed me something in a magazine. We were talking about it, had never discussed this before. And the next day it was in both of our Facebook feeds.
Mm-hmm.
So, they're listening. So, yeah, folks, they're listening, but you better just get used to it in today's world, so just, but let's get back on topic because you're right.
Portals. So we talked about portals. They're basically a doorway. It's
Correct.
A doorway for entities that do not have a physicality about them, right? Other dimensional beings. Okay. Now, that's what a portal is. Nothing more, nothing less. But we also talked about stargates, right?
Yes.
Let's talk about stargates for a moment because I actually have experience with those.
Okay. And again, one of the things you have to know, and when we did this, I started watching. Gillian's been gone again this week. I've been watching a lot of Neil deGrasse Tyson, things like that, trying to get the scientifics and really understand what can be proven and what can't be proven. The thing about Stargate, it can't be, again, like the portal, it can't be absolutely proven, but they do show up in ancient history, the mention, the writing of them. So, I'm in that party,
Yeah,
I believe they exist.
Several Stargates on this planet. I think the Great Pyramid is one of them. There's several of them. And what a Stargate is,
Picchu, I forget. There's some.
They're usually circular, and they have some Cyrillics writing around it or something that I do believe they are extraterrestrial in nature. And what they do is it becomes a gateway to go from point A to point B without hopping on an airplane. Okay.
Right.
I'm going to get a little fringy here for a moment. I work a lot with super soldiers and stuff, and a lot of the super soldiers from like Montauk and these other places these people have experiences with Stargates and going through them, and their memories come back after a while. They try to mind wipe a lot of these people. So that's one of the elements. But I remember I did a past life regression on a client of mine, and I have permission to share this story. And this past life regression is actually not on planet Earth. And that can happen.
Right.
This is a water planet. And she's a water being and she is out. Okay. The tone of her voice has shifted. She is just out, and her higher self and subconscious self are coming through, talking about this water planet and her love for water. And they were explaining that this war happened, and is basically with the reptilians, because what war doesn't start with the reptilians? And what happened is they came through. They had this planet. It was, I think, Mintaka, from I think it's from the Lyran or maybe Orion belt. They had a Stargate there from here to planet Earth. And their job was to help planet Earth keep the water clean and clear. This is coming up in her past life regression. Right. They got attacked and then shifted on planet Earth. And she's been coming back to planet Earth over and over and over to try to rectify this. And she always ends up near water where she lives lifetime after lifetime. So I do think that Stargates have that potential to take us to other different, I'm going to call them time, space, dimensions, planets, etc. And they do this because it's almost like a wormhole technology between point A to point B. And so, modern scientists, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I have not been studying this lately, as you have been. A lot of times people think that a wormhole is a black hole. It's that same concept. So,
right.
Is it?
Yes, and that's true. And here's the thing. When we talk about a black hole, okay, or a wormhole, people are like, oh, that's where the aliens are just zipping back and forth through there. I'm now, I hate to blow it for everybody, but again, y'all know me, I'm going to devil's advocate both sides of this thing. We've never photographed a wormhole or a black hole, okay? What we have is black matter that they're proving because of the light matter. Remember, in the absence of light, there'll be darkness. So what is there? So the wormhole or the black hole actually has a gravitational force that if we went into it as human beings, there is no way in the foreseeable future that if we ever traveled to one, okay, that we know how to handle we would be ripped apart within a nanosecond of entering it because of the way the gravitational pull works. Now,
and the physicality of our bodies versus the energetic bodies, right?
There you go. So I'm not saying if that's not a potential, okay, for our spiritual bodies to transform through there, okay? But I did hear this interesting thing. So if you believe aliens are coming back and forth through wormholes and black holes, all right, they are so far advanced It would be, they are so technologically advanced. What are they looking at us for? It'd be like you going, ooh, I want to study an earthworm. Okay. We would have that much interest to them. You know, and I'm like, okay.
I agree with that.
If we go that thought process. You know, but, you know, so the key thing is, remember, before you dive in and you start yelling, and I'm talking to the people, the tribe, I don't want you embarrassed that, we know black holes exist. We know they exist theoretically.
Right.
We do not know they exist as, there's one, you know, that type of thing. They can pinpoint them where they believe they are on a map. Okay. So I'm more prone to the stargates, the vortex, the portal theory, than I am the wormhole. But I think the wormhole is something we have to digest, as so much more we have to learn about our own universe.
And so here's the other theory, and this is just my theory based on my weird work and just studying. You've got a Stargate. Something goes through the Stargate. It has to go somewhere else. And so that space in between is it can be, you can consider it a wormhole. And what it does, a Stargate takes us between time, space, and dimension from point A to point B. And so
I'm going to hit you with the theory in a second, but go ahead.
So we have to be able to do that. Is this elasticity, this plasmic thing, a wormhole? It could be, or maybe it's just, and part of it is our human language is limited also with these concepts.
Do we really? This was an interesting thing in doing the research and looking at some of this stuff, because I like seeing both sides. A Stargate, in theory, also, if we throw the time theory in there, that time is a man-made construct and it doesn't really exist on the other side of that Stargate. Remember, we're putting our linear thought to, there's got to be a gap between point A and point B. If you look at science fiction such as Dune, where these creatures were able to fold time and space, okay, I believe a true Stargate, when you step through it, you don't have anything like in the movie Stargate, spiral out, got to puke, everything else. I believe you're stepping in directly into another dimension, another galaxy, another universe. That's how this has been harnessed, because, you know, everything is this elasticity that we're talking about. It's unheard of. And this would be the thing of, if aliens were doing that, and we truly believe that our government, has alien bodies and have dealt with extraterrestrials, which I believe, we would be very close with that technology. All right.
Yeah.
And nothing even shows. They show, but there are leaks and theories and people, you know, doing the whistleblower thing, that we're playing with it. We know there's some type of substance to it, but they just don't know how to handle it. So that's my thing on a Stargate, is really to make it work in my head. There is no vortex on the other side. Once we leave this, we have to get rid of our time space continuum, because it doesn't apply on the other side of a Stargate.
So this planet has 3 key ingredients for these mortal experiences. We have to have the time to have the experiences. We have to have the physical space to have them too. And we have to have the gravity to anchor us. So we have to have these 3 elements to exist on this physical earth plane. Right. Now, when we leave these bodies, the energy that animates the body is the soul, and the soul does not have a physical form. If we go back, and I'm going to get a little weird again, okay? Back to the Lyran Wars and the Orion Wars, these beings did not have physical bodies as we perceive them. So when we're looking at life on other planets, we're stuck with the human mind construct of these physical 3D things. Yes, there's life on other planets. Come on. So we have the time, the space, and the gravity. These other beings, and we can say, you use the Lyrans, for example, they're the cat people, for lack of a better word. They came to this planet. They started creating physical forms for their soul energies. They created the cat kingdoms and those types of things. The reptilians created the dinosaurs and the reptiles and those types, the alligators, those types of things. And they were experimenting and on physicality, because we have a much more grounded experience than we do just sitting on a cloud playing the harp all the time. By the way, wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah, no kidding.
I'd be bored. So they came here and they realized this earth plane is a land of physicality. And we are here to have these mortal experiences. We take these experiences with us in our Akashic records, our soul energies, and we take them and we move on to the next thing. What is the next thing? Maybe it's another lifetime in the physical earth plane. Maybe we are studying with our guides and our masters. Maybe we're learning, maybe we're going on a different mission. There's so many themes and variations of all of this. You know, life is not, work 40 hours, go home, watch the news for a bit, make dinner, and get ready for bed, right?
Right.
There's so much more to this. So when we look at these portals, these stargates, these beings have more advanced technologies than we have. And, like I said, I do a lot of super soldier work. Not everybody who claims to be a super soldier is a super soldier. And basically a super soldier is somebody who has certain abilities the government has found, and they utilize these abilities for their off-world, I want to be nice.
Adventures. Let's
Thank
just put
you.
it that way.
Thank you. And they have these series of 20 and back 20 years, and they come back. But the Earth, when they come back in Earth time, they're still in the same moment in time, although they expended 20 years in other dimensions and other realms or realities. They come back here, they're still this 8-year-old little boy. Their soul memory still has those memories of those experiences. If it's psionic stuff, if it's wars, it could be many different things. So there's a lot of people out there that have these memories that are coming to the surface now after millennia.
Right.
And it makes sense, especially when people have missing time.
And you know what? I think a lot of that is just now it's been talked about so much. I think people have had them, but they were just, no, I ain't saying anything. It doesn't make any sense. It's just me being kooky, and I'll keep my mouth shut because too many people. But now we're actually open. Look at us having this topic. All right.
Could not have done this 5-10 years ago.
No, but because we would have been labeled, but I want you to think about one of the things you just said. And that's what they're talking about with a wormhole or a thing, that if we could actually transcend that wormhole, that black hole, that there's actually the possibility that you can get to the other side before you actually left this side.
Yeah.
Because we've left our whole, physics and theory of relativity. Everything as we know it goes. So like when you're talking about time, when they step through, if they haven't left Earth plane, they are stepping through basically right into another time. Okay. And this is what we're talking about. The Stargates really, and the Stargates are the ones that really get me going. Okay. Sumerian and Anunnaki, those scripts, those texts have talked about it. The ancient aliens, they talk about, and I'm going to throw something out there for everybody. Okay. Y'all can think the Reverend's gone off the other side. Okay. Because I firmly believe this. When we think of angelic and demonic presence, we always tend to think of demonic as in the earth. But the Bible plainly talks about below the earth. So I think these things are used, and the Bible actually talked about angels coming to earth, living with men and women okay, led up to the Great Flood.
A lot of species have and do.
Yeah, and this is, I think, how angels. It's a possibility they're using this because I think our whole sense of heaven, hell, the spiritual realms have all been dictated to by huge religions, and that's what a lot of people are having a problem breaking
And
away.
a lot of that is from the dark side, because if they can control us out of fear, they control us, right? We become their operative. We're their operative. And, the concept of hell began, I believe, with the Catholic religion. You'll burn in hell if you don't follow these laws, these the reason why priests gave all of their assets over to the church was because the Catholic Church could make more money and acquire more lands around the earth. So if we
don't get me started on the Catholic Church as a whole, political, everything.
You know what? I've had 2 Catholic churches call me for exorcisms.
I know, but why are I got to get this out of my head or I'll never get past it.
Okay.
Why are they considered a nation and have an embassy right here in the United States? Separation of church and state. It makes no sense. Only thing, because they have control of some of the largest funds in the world.
Planet. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And
so I'll shut up now. That's a topic for another show.
It is. It is. And so we have to understand that we are sovereign beings. We have to understand that as sovereign beings, we have the ability to make choices. When these nefarious entities come around, they try to mitigate our free will. The light side will never do that, period. So Gillian has a comment. She just, a wormhole is a symbol or a passage to the unknown that leads to higher awareness, deeper connection with the divine, and truths beyond everyday perception. Usually the light side has access to the stargates. And this makes this true, but sometimes the dark side can hijack them.
Yes.
Usually
a door is a door.
Yeah.
There's no sacred marking on that door.
Yeah, Gillian, thank you for that. Absolutely.
That says who can or can't use it. That it's just that knowledge. And all right, my Bigfoot shirt. Okay. I think the reason we can't find them is they are merely passing through a moment in our time when they're visible.
Yeah.
Okay. And then they step out and blink out, into another dimension or another realm. I firmly believe in Bigfoot. Okay. I know I make fun of it a lot, but I believe that they are interdimensional or intertime beings.
I do too. The interdimensionality especially rings true for me because they will phase in and out. They're very physical. You can smell them. You can see them. It's like you could touch them and shake their hands at times. I had one walk into an outbuilding on the property, and I'm watching him going through the human things, just checking it out.
Yeah.
And then poof, he was gone. Just like that. I was like, whoa.
And in the research, that's one of the things we talk about when we differentiate between portals and stargates. A lot of times the portals are when something can just flat disappear out of nowhere. And there is talk about when we talk about alien craft, using portals, not stargates. They know how to create a portal. Because how many times do we hear they were right there and boof, we got video of them and then they just blink out.
Yeah.
Well, we know that's not possible. It is if you've got a way to manifest a portal for yourself right then and there.
Absolutely. And it's a technology, right?
Yeah.
Now, I want to kind of talk about it because I think there's a lot of people out there who may have walked through a portal but not known what that sensation was.
I agree.
So, I walked through plenty of portals on accident. And what it can feel like is you walk through this wall that doesn't exist and everything becomes fuzzy. Nothing, your vision is not clear anymore. And you feel light. Or a different sensation. I remember I was at the Denver airport, which is not a fun place to be. Love Colorado, but I was at the Denver airport.
That airport sucks, man.
I had the wildest experience there. Oh my God. And I'm walking in, and so this was a few years ago before anything was known about it. I'm going to for the first time, because I've got a family with young kids, and I decided I was going to go to a high school reunion. Okay. And first time traveling by myself. Woohoo, I'm free, right? No minivan for me this weekend. And I'm transferring from Michigan to the Denver airport to go home to San Diego. And I'm at the Denver airport and I'm walking, and all of a sudden I feel like I'm free falling. I'm just going down, 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 down. I've got my stuff and I'm looking at my stuff. The only thing I can see is I've got an iPad and I've got a bag and I've got my roller suitcase. Those are the only things I see, and I'm falling through the ground. Like, whoa,
yeah, I have felt that very thing, kind of like you're walking in on yourself.
Yeah.
It is the craziest, like you're shrinking feeling, but you're still full size. But all of a sudden you're like, I'm disappearing off the face of the planet.
And then, so I go sit down. I'm like, whoa, this is weird. And the plane is about to, load. And I'm like, I sit down and I start feeling these electric shocks go through my body, and they hurt. I mean, they hurt. I'm like, what? I thought the chair had electricity in it and it was shorting out on me. That's how much it was like, whoa. And like, there's no electricity on this chair because sometimes they have the plugs in them. And then I start seeing the stuff flash before my eyes, all of these old airplane accidents.
Okay.
Now I am sitting down. I am looking at the tarmac, but actually what's in front of me is another row of chairs. I'm watching this whole TV scene. And thousands of people who died in plane crashes are descending upon this one moment in time and space and dimension. And I'm falling and falling and falling, and I keep falling and I keep landing, and it hurts when I land. Every ounce of my fiber, every being, it was like it was being crushed as I landed to the ground. It was like I died so many times that day. I could barely get my phone to call a friend of mine for help. And I'm like, oh my God. And my friend's like, yeah, you know what? You've got all these dead people with you. And somehow or another, they're created this portal where all these plane accidents commingled in this time, space, and dimension. And it was so terrifying. By the time I got this cleaned up, and I'm like shaking like a leaf, I had to get on a plane.
Yeah.
That's the last thing I wanted to do.
And things about, are you done? I don't want to cut you off.
No, it was the hardest thing to do, get on that plane. I was the very last one to board. I was considering renting a car.
Yeah. One of the things, there's two things I want to bring up. Okay. Portals, I think, are a huge, huge piece of what we call deja vu. And like it's one of those things where you walk through a ripple, okay, or a portal, and you're like, I know I've never seen this, but I felt like I've seen it before, okay. And there are different levels of deja vu, and some is I've had this dream before, I've seen this before. That is portals, because I think you're folding time in and on itself, and you're repeating something you have either seen in your future you, your past you, or whatnot, and it's all coming together.
And you could also have been there in your sleep state, because we travel in our sleep state. We were at the Getty Museum, and one of my kids was like, whoa, I've been here before. And the Getty Museum is not that old, so it wasn't a past life thing. And she's explained to me what's in what room, and where she knew the whole layout of the place. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
So she had astral traveled there.
And here's another thing people need to remember, okay? There, with portals, we can create inner portals, our own portals within our conscious, within our mind. And those have been directly linked, okay, in theory and in conversations, or with sleeping, okay, lucid dreaming, where it's not a portal for everybody else, but you have created your own portal, okay, to higher realms or different things like that. But it's also chakra alignments. Remember, we're talking about wheels of energy, and they spin, they get out of whack, and maybe that's why things are crazy or whatnot. But that astral travel, and these can all be done through inner portals. And a big thing, that's the meditation, and different things like that.
Absolutely. And again, there's no such thing as no such thing.
Correct.
That's not my quote, by the way, right?
Right.
And when we have these experiences, I think it's worth the effort to write them down, because you never know what's going to happen in the future, or that
Absolutely.
potential future where you're going, oh yeah, I remember that now. But and we talk, time is not linear. We started down that road, and folding time, time can seem to go fast in some instances and it take forever in some instances, right? So I got off the plane today,
Right.
and my dog had a little accident, or a big accident. I'm like, oh man, I got to clean this up before I, get on with Forever Rob. And he's all stressed out, poor little dude. So clean this up, and I'm like, I look at the clock, oh my gosh, I still got time. Time is going so slow. This is so great.
Yeah.
Right? Because I was in a rush, right? Because I wanted to get here, da, da, da. So time can go slow, but it can also go really fast.
Yes, it can.
And, those first like 12 years of life when you're a kid, it's like, oh my God, I'm going to be 8 forever. I'm 8.5. I'm 8.75. I'm 8 in 10 months. I'm going to be 9. Woohoo. Right. And then once you hit your 20s, it's like a rocket ship. Wow.
I will tell people this about that. Be careful what you talk about to children and even young adults, teenagers or whatnot, because having grown up in the Baptist church, Jesus coming soon, Jesus coming soon, Jesus coming soon, going to be any time now. It's like when you grew up with that, I literally had a fear, and I think it drove some of my behavior of Jesus coming back before I got to live the adult portion of my life.
Yeah.
And so, folks, when you're talking this stuff, you've got to realize, and one of the things that helped me really realize is remembering this, but like when we're talking death with children, we actually use the term dead, death, died, dying, not grandpa, grandpa went away. Well, when are we going? Yeah. We'll go wake them up when they come, because the world is still a literal place to a young mind. And we have to let them know, but you can, even when you're talking about portals and things like this in front of young, impressionable minds, be careful, because they're not going to, if you're their figure of power and you're talking in fact, they're not going to, you see the danger when they're not going to challenge you. No. And they could very well take everything you're saying at that moment in time very literal.
Very literal. And children are an interesting dichotomy, because when they're young, the quote unquote veil is thin. As they get older, the world is black and white. And as they become teenagers, the world is all these shades of gray again. So we do need to be really mindful of what we allow our children to see or hear or experience. And, and I was a psychic kid. My kids were psychic, and it was really hard to create a normal life. To maintain the normalcy was really hard. I mean, and I never knew from the next day what was going to happen. And, the Battle of the Darkside Journey to Teacher to Exorcist, that's what I'm talking about. And it's like, how do you navigate these things? It's not easy.
Yeah. It's not easy. And a lot of times we find these conversations, like we've heard people say in the chat, they're so interesting. So, and we start talking about them, just being mindful about what you're saying, even as a joke or whatnot, or so literal, about who's listening. Not saying hold back your thoughts, your feelings.
Whenever Garrett, if Uncle Sal
present them more as a possibility, then there's a portal in your bedroom, and then you don't understand why your child's afraid of the dark. Okay,
right?
or the weird guy coming through the closet. And sometimes when they're telling you that, as Laura and I've talked about, and I guess I'm going into another show, maybe you do need to listen to them, because that very well could be a portal.
Listen to your kids, but you want to listen without the emotional reaction. So
correct.
If you have a psychic child and they're experiencing portals or whatever, ghosts or whatever, listen to them, but don't overreact. Ask them questions, and don't, as a parent, you don't want to be overly excited. Oh my God, my kid is psychic. Da, 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 da. Because then they want to start performing for you.
Right.
because as they perform for you, their information becomes less true. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I've got to, we're going to talk JL in a bit here.
That's going to be another good topic, of about children psychic, things like that. Because again, my whole bangarang thing, okay, is I want people to find the magic that they had and believed in as a child. All right. So you can reclaim your wings and fly. Because one of these things is once you release and get back to thinking like a child and open up other possibilities than what we've been brainwashed out of to conform by control and different things, the whole world opens up. It's a new place.
It is. And, back to portals for a second, a portal can open up using negative ley lines on the Earth's magnetic grid. And this is what Jalen's we talked a couple days ago. Yes, absolutely. We're going to work on that. So negative ley lines, the Native Americans in the United States knew where and where not to live on the Earth plane.
Correct.
If the trees are gnarled and twisted and, there's no nature there, or there's a lot of poison ivy, those are signs of negative energies on the Earth. Chances are there are negative ley line intersections, the Earth's magnetic grid, banker lines, etc. So you want to avoid living and building homes and subdivisions in those areas. Okay.
Right.
Now you've got places where nature flourishes and all of these things. That's a healthy piece of land. So the dark side can make bad things happen where the Earth's magnetic grid is weaker. And it's just a natural phenomenon. So if I've got a weakened magnetic grid where I've got an intersection of maybe a couple of banker lines or some ley lines in there, and then a murder happens or something, what they're doing is they're ripping open the fabric of time to the dark side.
Let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you a question. And this just came, thank you, or whatnot. Okay. But we know places like this exist from, our Native Americans. Any indigenous tribe will tell you this, no matter what their belief system is.
Yeah.
I'm in full agreement with you. Do you believe that darker entities will thrive to that area and use that as like HQ? Because they're not fighting the positive. We all keep thinking they're always around here, but I think there's places they need to retreat to. Would that be in your in your mind a possibility? So when you're building on a negative ley line, when you're doing these things, you're a lot of, you understand what I'm getting at, right?
Yeah, well, it's a frequency issue. So these are lower frequency places on the Earth plane. These entities are lower frequency, and it becomes an attraction, right? It's the Disneyland, so to speak, effect. Right. So they become lower frequencies, and it becomes weaker. Okay, the Earth's magnetic grid is weaker. The third dimensional plane is weaker there. I had a client years ago whose kid refused to sleep anymore because he kept seeing Native Americans running down the hill with hatchets. Okay.
Right.
And I remote viewed the place, and what I learned was there were Native Americans that lived on that hill. It was a very sacred ground for them. And they were practicing their war games. Okay. They knew that they're practicing. And they would run down the hill, and then they would, work on, attacking each other, but not killing each other. But this little kid could see the energetic effects of that going over and over and over. And it was terrifying for him. So cleaning up and clearing up those energies, shoring up the ley lines makes a huge difference. It's actually quite easy to, solidify and shore up a ley line, by the way. There's a lot of techniques and things we can do. It's kind of complicated to go over on air, but you can shift and mitigate those negative ley lines. And when you do that, you start to sleep well. All kinds of things. If you have a house and there's like a river running, like a dry riverbed underneath it, that's a ley line issue. That's an energetic issue that things can come through. But there's a lot we can do to clean those up. And as we clean up these negative ley lines, we're actually helping the earth to heal.
Right. And one thing with that, with the negative ley lines, and wow, we're already at an hour.
I know, right?
You know, what I really need to remind people of is if you're going to buy a piece of property, especially in a place that is already populated, a subdivision, a whole, one of these, like Gillian and I lived in a massive one. Okay. You need to do your research to find out what was there, because capitalism, they don't care. Bury it over with dirt. Okay. And we don't even believe it. This parcel of land I can sell for $30,000-$40,000. So it's driven by the wrong thing, and you can unintentionally wind up in a negative energy space, okay, by not doing your homework.
So one form of homework is, how often does that house turn over, right? If there's a lot of turnover, there's a reason. Another element is, why did the previous people leave? Was it a contentious divorce? It could be anything, right? Was it suicide? Right. I actually work with a lot of real estate agents asking me to clear homes because they don't sell. Most often the problem is somebody died in the house by suicide or natural causes. Most of the time, you cross over those dead, you bring in some healing energy, so to speak. It's more complicated than that. And you clean and clear that house.
Right.
I remember our neighbors sold their house. They were a very happy couple, and they bought this house on a steal because the couple had an awful divorce, a lot of abuse in the home. And they got the house in San Diego for, like, I'm going to say like 60, 70% of market value, right? A great deal. You know what? This couple ended up divorced. And not only that, but this business guy ended up with tattoos all over his neck, face, arms, everywhere. He was a business guy. Okay. I'm not saying anything negative about tattoos, but if you are in middle management corporate America and you're showing up with all these tattoos, what was inhabiting him?
Right.
The previous owner also had tattoos like that. And when it comes to tattoos, look at the symbolology of what you want to put on your body too. So they ended up getting divorced. He became violent, by the way. They sold the house and everything calmed down. And the couple who were friends of ours were like, wow, why were we fighting? There was something in that house to make that happen.
Absolutely. And a lot of that could just segue out, stem from a portal or something like that, where things are passing through. And sometimes they're not just passing through, they're coming and going. So be careful. We want to leave you with this cautionary. Portals are cool. Stargates, to me, are the coolest. Okay. But again, be careful what you play with if you don't know what you got. Okay. Even Laura and I are very careful about probing a portal, or we don't just walk up and go, oh yeah,
oh, isn't this cool?
Nay, fluffy. That ain't happening. Okay. And a lot of people pour into Sedona just to go find a portal. Feel this, the energy. Well, okay.
Yeah.
Who was in that portal before you, bro?
Yeah.
What energy are we feeling there? So, but anyway, so I love this topic. Okay. Could go on about it all day. And as you see, we kind of got off on finger stuff, on finger topics or whatnot. Is there anything you would like to end with?
There's so much out there that we don't know about. And healthy skepticism is excellent.
Yep.
And so is using our discernment. Those two things, and with our wisdom, three things, or intuition, however you want to put it, keeps us safe and it keeps us learning. We got to keep learning. I mean, You know, one of the best classes I ever took was on biogeometry, which is Egyptian temple science. I mean, it's the foundation of what I do. And Dr. Robert Gilbert actually died about a month ago. And it was just a gem of a class, Dr. Ibrahim Karim, because there's a lot of, basically what it does is it teaches you how to measure energies.
Right.
Positive, negative, neutral. And there's so much out there that can be harmful or helpful. And so just use your intuition and our judgment.
Right. That's a great piece of advice. Listen to the intuition. Okay. And again, we'll do a whole thing on the difference between knowledge, personal knowledge, and intuition, and how they combine, okay, to use them, because that's what we're meant to do. So, you know, all right. What a great topic.
Yeah,
what a great topic. You know,
thank you
so
all for chiming in too.
Should we tell them what we've kind of set as a goal for the fall?
You know what? Let's just put it in concrete, shall we?
Yeah, I believe in putting it out to the universe verbally. And Laura and I are talking about in the fall of this year. Okay. Be ready for it. Be looking for it. Okay. Going and having a retreat for a weekend in Scottsdale, Arizona. Okay. So be ready for that. We don't have any details on it yet. We've got some ideas about places and things and whatnot, but we will be there. Gillian will be there. We're going to do some things, but Laura and I are going to do hands-on retreat training, things like that, from any different topics that we've got in our arsenal. And, you know, we will be looking for y'all there, but I'll keep you posted. Laura will keep you posted.
Yeah. Scottsdale, Arizona. And in the fall, probably I'm thinking end of September-ish. We're going to be reaching out to some facilities and things like that in the next couple of weeks. So we're very excited about that. Pencil that in your calendars. We'd love to see you there.
That near what? Nice catch. I loved it.
Yep.
That in your pipe and smoke it while you're in your portal. So,
right.
Yeah. So, all right, everybody. Well, remember what we always say: take what you want, leave what you don't, but leave having experienced some peace, love, and light. Bang around.